Welcome back to Grumpy Vet Garage. I'm the Grumpy Vet Dino. I've owned my 2021 Toyota Supra now for about 6 months, and I think the experience I've gained from driving it makes me qualified to be able to have an opinion on what I like and what I dislike about the car. So today I want to go over the pros and cons of owning a Mark V Supra. Spoiler alert, I love the car. But I'm going to start with the cons, and I'm going to work from what makes me the least grumpy to what makes me the grumpiest. So starting at number 10, it's hard to get into the car. It's a sports car. I'm 6'3", close to 270 pounds. I have a method for getting in the car. I have to open the door, somewhat sit on the door sill while I put my feet in, and then slide over into the seat. I have the seat all the way down and almost all the way back. Everybody knows it has one. The bar in the back kind of prevents the seat from going physically as far back as it would go. But I have it down and back, and I still have to do like a 2-stage to get into the car. I don't think it's that big a deal. I've been in other sports cars. They're not exactly easy to get into, so I don't think this is a deal breaker. But to say that the car is easy to get into, that wouldn't be exactly accurate. So that's my number 10 con. Number 9 would be wind buffeting. I know it's brought up a lot that these cars have wind buffeting. It is not a lie. There isn't a highway speed or a combination of windows up and down to make it stop doing that. Once you get past about 20 miles an hour to infinity, you have wind buffeting. It's all about the design, I believe, of the side of the car and how that interacts with the front of the window. So it is an easy fix. That's why I have it low as a number 9 on my cons list. I made a video on how to fix it, and it fixed it. It's taken care of. Really, what you have to do is just disrupt the airflow in front of the window, in between the windshield and where the mirror is. If you disrupt that airflow, the wind won't just stream into the car and cause the wind buffeting. But if you buy a Mark V Supra, you're going to have to fix it, or you're always going to have the windows up. Number 8 con doesn't make me that grumpy, but it is a bit of a problem. The stereo in this car is not that good. I'm getting older. I listen to a lot of sports radio, but I do listen to music occasionally. When you have the sound low, I know it's a 12-speaker JBL system. It's got 2 subwoofers, but on a low level, you don't feel any hit at all from the subwoofer. And when you turn up the volume, the subwoofer then will make noise, but it's more of a rattle than anything. So I don't really feel as though the stereo is all that good. I've never really been a big stereo guy that's needed to change head units and speakers. But if you're getting this car thinking that you're going to get a good stereo out of the box, my opinion is it doesn't have a good stereo. My number 7 con is visibility in a drive-through. So you go to pull up to a drive-through, the way the window sill comes down, your head is actually up into a bubble, and it comes down because the window is kind of short. When you look out the window at a drive-through menu, like say at Starbucks, you're only seeing the bottom third of the sign. If you want to see what's the upper 2/3 of that sign, you have to scrunch down and look up, try to look up. And then when you go to pay, nobody can see you. Maybe you don't want to see them, but you're having to reach your money up. And then, or if you want to talk to them, you need to lean down so they can see you. It's not a big deal. The car is relatively low, but visibility in a drive-through is not optimal. My number 6 con kind of leans towards what goes on in a drive-through. The size of the window to pull something through. If you go to any place and you need to pull something through the window, like a drink carrier or a bag, you're going to have to make sure to get it perfectly through the window. I have a standard shaker bottle for my pre-workout. That bottle, granted, I'm not getting it from a drive-through, but just kind of as an example, it barely fits through the window. We're talking an inch and a half on each side, so you're not just going to pull it through. You might smack into the side of the car. So the size of the window is not very good. On top of that is, you see these videos of somebody trapped in a car and they have to break the window out to get out. I'm not crawling through the side window of a Toyota Supra. I'm not going to get through there. I'm going to get stuck. Okay, number 5 on the cons list. Now we're starting to get into a bit of the grumpy part of this. Opening the trunk. You have 2 options to open the trunk. There is a button on the inside of the driver's door, and there is your key fob. That is it. So if you have full hands and you want to get into the trunk, you have to first go to the door, open the door, reach down, hit the button, then go to the trunk to get in it. Or you need to stop, pull your keys out, hit the key fob. Now, you like your car, so you're not going to want to reach to open the trunk with the hand that's got the keys in it because you might scratch the car. So now you got to put your keys back in your pocket just to lift and put something in the trunk. There is room, I would say, underneath where the license plate is and the lights are, there is a ledge where they can easily have put a button for you to reach down and grab it. Now, you're still going to have to touch a button, but you're not going to have your keys in your hand, and you're not going to have to go to the driver's side door and then go back to the trunk to get into the trunk. They could have done better, and it makes me mildly grumpy having to deal with it. Number 4 is the trunk closing when you close your driver's side door. I didn't think this was a big deal. I've heard people on forums say that the car did this, and I never experienced myself until I did. So you get somewhere and you're like, I got to get something out of the trunk. You open the driver's side door, you open it with the button, you get out of your car, you shut the door, it will suck the trunk back closed again. So now you have to then use your key fob or open the door again, hit the button, go lift it, then shut the door. There are fixes for it where you can actually screw up the stoppers, but it puts more tension on the trunk, and it's not how it was designed from the factory. So another problem with the trunk. I know I'm bashing the trunk release system here, but number 3, the position of the trunk release button on the driver's side door panel. When you're going to get in the car and you sweep your leg in to the car, it can brush right past that button and open the trunk. So now you had your 2 stages to get into the car, and now you accidentally opened up the trunk. Now you have to get back out of the car, fully open the trunk, shut it again, and then get back in the car again trying to avoid the button. When it happens, and it doesn't happen very often, but it's happened probably in 6 months 3 times, and all 3 times it was like, oh, they could have put this button anywhere. There's open spots where the headlight controls are. There's an open spot. They could have put a trunk release button there. They didn't have to put it on the door. Okay, number 2. This one kind of makes me grumpy. If you're an Apple user, this doesn't apply to you, but all Android users, which I am, there's no Android Auto. It doesn't come in the car. There's no option to get it in the car. There's no Android Auto. There's aftermarket support, so you can get Android Auto installed by putting actual hardware in the dash. You got to take the dash apart, put in this hardware, and on top of that, it costs $600. $600 is something that should have came with already. And on top of that, when you get it, you have Android Auto, and that's great, but you can't use a touchscreen. You have to use the iDrive controls to control your Android Auto. Some people may only use iDrive because they don't like to put smudges on the screen, but when you have your selection right there, instead of having to roll the dial to get to it, I like sometimes to just touch the screen. But if you turn around and don't have a problem with only using iDrive or spending $600, you can have Android Auto, but as it sits right now, it doesn't come with it. I have a video that shows a good cell phone mount that I use to hold my phone, which is a good compromise for me. But as far as having my Google Maps or anything else, phone controls on the stereo head unit, it doesn't come from the factory that way. All these other cons about the car don't make me that grumpy, but the number 1 con of this car does make me a little grumpy. The blind spot visibility. And I don't mean when you're going down the road. When you're going down the road and somebody's in your blind spot, the car does a good job of illuminating a triangle in the mirror. And there's also safety feedback that if you try to come over, you get audible beeps. Plus the steering wheel, even on the lowest setting, will give you feedback to not go into that lane. So it becomes very apparent that if somebody's in the blind spot that you didn't see, that you would be able to. Now, even people in the blind spot with the mirror, I can see them. The problem is when you pull up to a road, if you are not square to that road where you can look out your window, or parallel to that road so that you can use the mirror and the rear view mirror and the rear window to see directly behind you, if you come at an angle, you cannot see anybody on the road. There is no movement of the mirror, your head, anything. All you do is look back and see B pillar and C pillar. I've been lucky that the first time it happened, I had somebody in the passenger seat because I was completely shocked. Like, there's no way to see behind me. I am stuck here, and I either have to back up and move to square up, or I had to have somebody say, hey, am I clear? Can I go? And I trusted their opinion, and they said it was clear and I was able to go. But I've had to change how I pull up to the road because of the blind spot directly over the driver's shoulder. You cannot see because of the B pillar and C pillar. There's a little window back there, but it doesn't do anything. And the window in the rear is so small that it doesn't show, if you're at an angle to the road, what's there. So try not to get too grumpy about it, but this is the one thing about the car that I greatly dislike. It's bad. It's bad. So you'll have to change how you drive the car to be able to square away being able to see when you come up to a road. Before I get to my pros list of the car, I want to bring up something that I've heard some people in forums say is a con of the car, but I think it's really just, I guess, a bit of haters or people that don't like the car and they just want to bash the car. The common judgment of the car is what is considered a con by some. People say stuff like, "Oh, nice BMW," or "That's not a real Supra." I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with that. Nice BMW, is that an insult? I mean, BMWs are nice cars, and these are coming from people that don't own Supras or BMWs. Or it's not a real Supra. What does that mean? What does it mean it's not a real Supra? It's a Toyota Supra. I don't get it. Anyways, I don't consider that to be a con, but if you buy the car, you're going to hear these things, and it's a bit baffling. Like, what are you talking about? Okay, nice BMW, thank you. It's not a real Supra. Okay, I don't know what you mean. It's confusing. Anyways, moving on to the pros list. Before getting to my pros list, I want to remind everybody we have a Grumpy Vet Garage merch store. Here's a Supra specific shirt. If you want to get something for yourself and help out the channel, the link to that store is in the description below. We also have hoodies because it's getting cooler. But moving on. So moving on to the pros. Pro number 5, I know previously I've had a lot of cons about the trunk, but the trunk for the size of the car is surprisingly large. The car is not that big. It's big enough, but there's a long hood for the straight 6 engine, and it's a 2-seat car, but the trunk is pretty big. Me and my wife have gone on trips, and we've had multiple bags. They've all fit. We've gone to the grocery store, filled up a cart full of groceries, and been able to put all of it in the car easily, as long as we didn't get the big toilet paper. Those things are huge. We didn't get that. But a full cart of groceries in there, no problem. I'm pleasantly surprised by how big the trunk is. Pro number 4. I know it's difficult to get into the car, but once you're in it, it is a comfortable car. It's comfortable on the street. I live in South Carolina. The roads are notoriously not well maintained. Will be nice there. But the car drives well, and I think that has a lot to do with the adaptive suspension. It's made by Bilstein for BMW. It soaks up the bumps really, really well. I would think that if you were to lower it, or if you were to delete the active suspension, that the car would, the ride would suffer, especially on harsh roads. But I am surprised on roads that are not very good, how well the car handles and rides. It's a comfortable, you could drive it daily on not the best roads and still feel very comfortable. Pro number 3 is photos and video do not capture how good looking this car is. When you see it in real life, it looks better than any picture or video you've seen. It is a good looking car. I've shown pictures of the car to friends, and then once they actually see the car, it's like the number 1 comment. Wow, it looks better than I thought it did. Wow, how great the car looks. And it was like that when I first saw one in real life. I saw the pictures of the car and thought, I don't know if I really like that. And then I saw it and I was like, wow, it is a good looking car. So That's my pro number 3. It's a good looking car, better than you would think. Pro number 2 is it's fast stock. I've made videos talking about the baseline performance on this car. This car is a 12-second quarter-mile car from the factory, straight off the dealer lot. Now, somebody might say 12 seconds isn't that fast. Fast and the Furious has made people think that everything is a 10-second car, and it's not real. Not everything is a 10-second car. A 12-second street car is a fast car, and this car from the factory runs a quarter mile in the 12s. It's a fast car. It's good. You'll like it. And then pro number 1 of the car is its performance capabilities. Everybody loves a Mark IV Supra. The 2JZ is a great engine. People making 1,000 horsepower. I would granted not everyday drivable 1,000 horsepower, but it's capable of that and can be a very fast street car. The B58, with this particular case, a ZF8 transmission, is a very capable package. Once tuning's unlocked for the post-June 2020 cars, they'll be able to do the same thing that the pre-June 2020 car ECU dates, that is, have been able to do. 600 horsepower on the street, easy. 1,000 horsepower setups to do drag racing, easy. Maybe expensive, but easy to get to. The car is very capable. There's tons of aftermarket support to make these cars faster than they already are, and that's the number 1 pro for this car, in my opinion. So that's my list of cons and pros on the Mark V Supra. If you have some different cons or different pros about the car, by all means, leave that in the description below. It may be something I haven't noticed yet, or maybe something that might not be necessarily a big deal to me, but it could be a big deal to the rest of the community. So please engage. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. I've been trying to do more work on the Eclipse, and also I have some more plans for the Supra performance-wise. And then also I have some parts for the Silverado that I'm looking forward to making videos about as well. But thanks for coming and seeing me in my garage, and until next time, have a good one.